American presidents most recently have thought that it was not just well within their power or have the opportunity to, but also the responsibility to make sure people throughout the world enjoyed the same freedoms that Americans have. What I think we've seen is that very well-intentioned efforts to go in and promote democracy in the Middle East, for example, have backfired spectacularly. So we've hurt oftentimes the people that we try to help.
The American people often get polled around election season about what issues they care most about. Foreign policy rarely even ranks there. Do you think it's the American public's problem that there hasn't been that much policy innovation in the foreign policy space?
I grew up during the Vietnam War, and while there have been nearly 3 million Americans who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan, how many people here have served in a war? How many people know people who have served in one of these wars?
That would change with the draft.
Well, and that is one of the reasons why there hasn't been innovation on that topic. One of the reasons we've been able to have this long a war is we haven't had huge numbers of casualties, and because the children of rich people have not been forced to go and fight in these wars. We have pools of people who are massively affected by it, and the rest of the public can ignore it.
If you took all the money that we're spending right now on defense and instead reinvested either in liberal solutions like universal pre-K or expanding education or healthcare, or conservative solutions, cutting taxes, being more fiscally responsible, paying down our debt, what we could do as a country is immense.
When I started 4.5 years ago, what the mayor's distinct ask was, how do we bring value and how do we exchange best practices beyond borders? We created a number of different programs specifically around the Sustainable Development Goals. That is, in 2015, the global community came together and said, this is what matters, and we are all going to work together collectively to address inequality, gender equity, climate action. What has been interesting since Trump came into power is the way that I think we can talk about foreign policy. So I can't do anything on war and peace and what's happening in Syria. But what we can do is galvanize a city. New York City is as large, if not larger, than 141 countries around issues like migration and climate change.
We've conducted a study here at the Eurasia Group Foundation of publics in 8 different countries and surveyed them about what would make American-style democracy more attractive to them. There was a close relationship between wanting America to maintain a more finite and modest and humble foreign policy and a negative opinion toward the U.S. That tells me that a change in our foreign policy would probably be one of the things we could do that would most improve the reputation of the United States overseas.
The question is, how much lasting damage has been done by this administration in our relationships overseas? How dispirited are people? If you don't have the United States counterbalancing, which has nothing to do with military intervention, on questions like when you have a rising of authoritarianism in Hungary, packing the courts, shutting down a free press, and you no longer have, whether it's Ronald Reagan or Barack Obama, people would always speak out in defense of civil liberties, and you suddenly have an American president who's saying, you're right, it's fake news, when he goes overseas. The hope is that you can hear the Nancy Pelosi's, you can hear the de Blasio's, you can hear all the local leaders speaking out for 4 years. If it goes on for longer than 4 years, then all bets are off. I think people can hold their breath for 4 years. I don't think they can hold their breath for longer than that.